Hi everyone, I'm going to completely overhaul this watch from start to finish. Remote movement and the case is loaded in my crystal remover jig. The case was cleaned previously and you can see that here and on the top there are some scratches on the bezel itself. They look a bit like smudges but they're actually fine scratches. So overall, I think these take away from the looks of the watch and make this a candidate for being refinished. The bezel is removed safely. I've dislocated it step by step in different locations and then from the outer side use the case back opener to finally snap it out. So far I haven't damaged or tarnished any bezels and I hope it never happens. Now time to take measurements of the bezel. Both the bezel and the case were exactly 31 millimeters on this SF flat bezel case design. On the bezel I used 5000 grit sandpaper first and then these nail polishing pads, double-sided nail polishing pads, but I only used the polishing side of the nail polishing pads. You can still see some fine scratches, but I think it's overall in good shape and also it's really hard to clean it. The hardest part was cleaning it and differentiating what is a scratch and what is a smudge. So one important step that I noted earlier is glare engineering, basically fixing the glare issues before the final finish. Basically in this case it's getting in those deep scratches and finishing those deep scratches first. So basically I attempted this this process. You can see these uh, weird glares basically with 800 grit sandpaper I got in there and I sanded those gaps and scratch gaps. This way when I do a singular 600 sweep, there won't be any shiny sections glaring from underneath, and I'm hoping this way with a minimal uh, layer removal I can achieve a good look. I am roughly happy with how this is turning out so far. All clean. Tried to press the bezel by hand but it didn't happen, so I'm prepared my press to press the bezel back. Press the case onto the bottom part to make it level. It wasn't level. I think my bottom die is a bit worn. Really hoping it will just clip on. I guess the worst case scenario would be the bezel breaking. And there are a lot of watches with broken bezels, but I think it's because maybe they swap bezels and don't realize the different dimensions of the cases. I couldn't have wished for a better result, and as you see the bezel is completely flush, even though I've touched the bottom parts with sandpaper as well. It didn't make any difference since it wasn't any significant removal of top material. So this, in my opinion, was a successful hand finish. Align the crystal. It pressed on easily. You can check it by checking if there are any gaps under the armoring, and it's flush now. Centering seems good. It is sometimes hard to center these, and I think it's worth the effort to make it perfect. And I was lucky with this one. You move the automatic bridge and the balance before pulling the hand. This modified movement holder to pull the hands with a air puller. As you see, I added notches and so it locks the movement, and when the movement is pulled upwards, it stays in place. Yeah, the movement is locked in this assembly. These pullers are normally made for Rolexes, so you have to modify them a bit to get them to Omega 550 series hand size. I think 1.7 millimeter, a bit larger than 1.7 millimeter was the size, because the our center is 1.5 millimeters and the outer diameter of the hour center was close to 1.8 millimeter, as far as I remember. I use a dial protector too, just in case, because if you drop the hands puller a bit too much, it can still damage the dial, and that's the risk with this air pulling method, to not touch the dial. I mean, normally it's easy, but sometimes in dim lighting conditions, it's really hard to sense the depth. I'm really glad I have this air puller, because hands were extremely tight. I mean, if I used regular methods where the levers press on the dial, it could have tarnished the dial lacquer maybe. I mean, it doesn't happen, especially on these dials, it doesn't happen. But still, I think to protect the dial, it's better to use an air puller. The hands are safely pulled, but as you see, they are not in very good shape. You can see something like a maybe fingerprint on this one, and there's almost corrosion on this one, further than oxidization. And with hands like this, it's hard to remove them from the base. And I'm going to delume them, and first try a deoxidization solution on this one, and if the result is good, deoxidize them, these two. Bought a Nescafe pack just for the loom mixture. The mixture ended up being a bit heterogeneous, so I'm going to add a little bit more coffee and mix in some water, and then evaporate the water to make it homogeneous. So this is loom coffee, but I think it's a bit too dark now with the added coffee, so I'm going to add more dust to make it more yellow, to match the yellow dial color. It's hard to tell the exact color since coffee is always on top and the loom is underneath. I think after it's evaporated, this could be slightly brownish yellow, which is the shade I want. This is an oxide remover solution I got from a watchmaker supplier. I don't know what's in it, it doesn't say. And I don't think there is any risk with this second scent. You can see that it's quite oxidized and rusted. So I don't think it can go wrong, but maybe there can be an improvement. You can see the oxidization. And there's a brown color, so it may be rust. The loom has dried. I like the orangey tone that turned out. You can also mix normal chalky paint that is water soluble and mix it with loom. I think maybe actual paint gives the best result, because when you mix coffee, you go into the brown territory, and with actual paint, you can go into more dark yellow and orange shades. I didn't expect it, but it seems the solution worked. The second sense appear almost pristine, and I think I left it in solution for an hour, and half of this hour was in boiling water inside a ultrasonic cleaner. Hands are now diluted using splinters of a toothpick, and have prepared two more solution bottles for them to bathe individually. I got the hands out, bathing them in alcohol now. They look pretty good. Most of the imperfections have been removed, especially the second scent Look incredible. So it was a good result. Letting them air dry a bit in this enclosure. I have the hands staked and I'm going to try this for the first time. They use this because it's slower to harden, and so you have a lot of time to prepare the solution and apply it calmly. The watchmaker binder is usually very fast. Normally I use that one, but I want to try this one, so this is going to be an experiment watch. My first mix was a bit wet and the second one was a bit dry, and I'm not too happy with the result. As you see on the hour's hand, it's a bit sloppy. The minute hand is definitely better. Maybe I need to remove that part a bit, blob. But the original watchmaker, I think it was a Virgin binder, it's definitely better. I don't like this one too much. You can always check whether they are good before drying and maybe redo it all. And this one looks good. I think it's hard to focus on the camera, but it looks okay. This is how the loom palette looks at night. I think I was afraid the new loom, which is in the middle, would be a bit too bright, but I think it's around the same brightness as the old loom I got. The others are all old loom. So I think it will be okay. And I checked it with light, and instead of brown, it's actually a more yellowish color, so it turned out pretty well. You want to dial, it's in perfect condition. Has a little bit of a pattern. I like these old style date advancers and jewel springs better, to be honest. Especially the date advancer, because it's less likely to break. I guess it can jam, but unless you make a mistake, this one seems sturdier to me. Almost fully disassembled, and I think the condition is just incredible. As far as I see and feel, only the reversal rail in the automatic reach needed cleaning and oiling, and this part in the winding mechanism seems to be a bit coarse. Other than that, all the parts are in pristine condition, in incredible condition, and the movement itself is also almost untouched. It even still has this little bushing on the top. Usually these are lost on these older watches. Ready for ultrasonic cleaning. When it comes to the mainspring, I cheat a bit and clean it while the mainspring is still inside the barrel. Soak it in a benzene solution and then lubricate it while it's still inside. They are all clean and going to leave them to dry a bit. And then after it's complete, I'm going to open the automatic assembly to oil the reverse wheel. Started assembling, time to press the cannon pinion back on. This is the only time I use this movement holder. I don't use it for other tasks because it's very fiddly and doesn't hold or lock the movement. The resistance feels good. So I think the cannon pinion is well lubricated and in good shape too. Started lubricating the jewels. The base components are all back up and lubricated. It needs to be calibrated, but this seems healthy to me. I think after calibrating the balance positions, it will be a good timekeeper. Out of curiosity, I reseated the back balance jewel spring, but the result is the same. The calendar is assembled and spinning well. I really like how the hands turned out. I was expecting them to be maybe a bit more brownish, but they are actually very yellow. It's hard to tell from the video about the color, but and at this angle you can see how yellow they are. I think about the same shade as the dial loom. The small plastic sheet under the pinion, seconds pinion spring, and then put an empty automatic balance on top for support when pushing the second hand. It also has the side benefit of stopping the watch from pressure. Applies a little bit of pressure. So when you are putting on the hands, you don't have to worry about the minute hands basically going forward in time and missing an optimal place. One important step for me is to put the watch into time setting mode and remove the stem here. So if everything goes according to the plan, it's possible to set the time to insert the hands, and after the hands are inserted, it can go into the case and stay in the case for the operations to follow. Basically, it's important to minimize, in my opinion, minimize operations when the dial is on. So this way, the dial is on, the hands are inserted, and then it can go into the case and be safe. The dial and the dial screws are back on. The hands are on, and I hope the date advancement will be in an ideal time. It is very good. Now it's time to put the second sand on. Watch is back up and the numbers don't look so bad. I'm going to slow it down just a bit. Remove the weight, and honestly I always forget. Remove the balance weight, but honestly I always forget to remove this as the first thing to do on a watch because it's a bit harder to remove when the automatic balance is loose. This is the automatic assembler. Now I'm going to open the reversal wheel. Opened it up now. It was sadly a bit hard to do in this specific case. The other casing is a bit scratched now. I used this tool I made to open it. You can see two small cogs here, one underneath, one over. I'm going to lubricate this with my Krytox mix, 102 and 105, and wrap things up. It's all back up now, and the winding feeling is very satisfying to undo it. Moves very silently. Initial values don't look so bad. The amplitude is 333, and I think it might improve with time. Making final adjustments to the end links. I believe it turned out well. I don't have any complaints. The loom is especially maybe my best so far. I didn't expect it to look this good. The case I think looks better. The lines are all there. And I think this bracelet was a nice match too, I believe. Either it's new stock, but more likely it was refinished as well, so it's a good match. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Looks a bit better under natural light too.